Did.
Just in case you want to refer to it later, we will have this posted on our YouTube channel. Okay, well, thanks again for attending. My name again is Kyle Lake. I'm the PADS application engineer with Oasis Sales. And Oasis Sales is a certified distributor for Mentor Graphics for a lot of their software, including the PCB products that we'll be talking about today. So this is part of our Did You Know webinar series that we're trying to hold one a month, just to help you understand how PADS and our other solutions can help you achieve some of your design criteria. Okay. So as we all know, Mentor Graphics does have solutions for the entire design flow for your electronic systems. That can go from the actual design of the printed circuit board and the circuit itself, going through the simulation and analysis, powered through mostly hyperlinks. Hyperlinks allows for pre-layout analysis of your circuits as well as post-layout analysis to see how your transmission lines for your traces are affecting your signal integrity. And also through both of these combinations we have the ability to do cost-saving solutions. Just a little bit about Oasis Sales. Like I said, Oasis Sales is a Mentor Graphics partner and has been for over 16 years. We were founded in 1986. We're excited to be working with Siemens. If you're not all aware that Siemens recently acquired Mentor Graphics, and that really shouldn't change how Oasis supports our current customers and new customers that we will get in the future. Just a little bit about our tech team. Again, my name is Kyle Lake. I am the application engineer for our PCB products. Brent Klingforth is our application engineer for mechanical tools. Solid Edge, if you're not aware, is Siemens' mechanical design tool, and that's what Brent is focusing on. Also, I want to introduce our sales team just a little bit. These are our different account managers, and they all have a respective territory in Oasis territory. So if you do have questions and you live in any of these states, please feel free to reach out to the corresponding account manager. Okay. And I will be posting my contact information again right before we end. So if you have questions, please take a quick snapshot of my contact info and feel free to give me a call whenever or shoot me an email. So Derek Pop, Lizzie Marsh, Andy Bowe. We also have Pete Achilleos, Rick Truza, and Jason Johnson. Okay, so they all have these respective territories. These are our outside account managers. We also do have an inside sales team that helps with PADS deals as well. So here's a good map that highlights Oasis sales territory. I have been notified that it looks like some of our attendees today might be from the Northeast or Southeast, and that's going to fall under Trilogic territory. So we're happy to have you here today, but if you do live in those territories, please reach out to your respective account manager. Okay, so again, this is a good contact info. Fawn Chang is the head of our inside sales team, and she can help answer any questions associated with your PADS or any other PCB tool needs. I do want to talk quickly about our next Save the Date webinar that we're already planning. And this is titled, Did You Know the DDR Wizard Can Drastically Reduce Design Time? DDR Wizard is a tool that can be incorporated into PADS or Expedition or for use with competitor flows as well, that helps you analyze your DDR timings and compares those to the JEDEC standards to make sure that you are going to meet those standards. Okay, so a very powerful tool, and we'll be highlighting this on Thursday, May 11th, so just about a month from now in the same time. Okay, so I just want to talk very briefly on what Mentor Graphics can offer its customers. So we have 4 main product lines that really help provide solutions for all of electronic design. Expedition is Mentor's enterprise PCB design tool. It offers incredibly high horsepower for complex PCB design, as well as the infrastructure around it to help support an enterprise environment. PADS is a more project-based PCB design. It still can do some very complex designs. We have customers doing incredibly complex designs in PADS. It just does not have the enterprise wraparound to help with your enterprise needs. Hyperlinks, if no one's aware of hyperlinks, it's a very popular tool to help analyze signal integrity, like I said, in the pre-layout before we actually start laying down any traces or place components. And then also after we lay out the board, it can help analyze those transmission line effects, crosstalk, and any other post-layout signal integrity effects that we want to negate. Okay. Hyperlinks has the ability to pull in competitor tool information as well, such as Altium or Cadence. Valor, it's another popular tool for PCB assembly, test, and manufacturing checks. It's used widely to help with manufacturing. This is just an interesting little slide that shows how PCB design has really gotten a lot more complex in the last 2 to 3 decades. You can see on the left-hand side of the design that's actually been done within PADS layout, very complex. And then on the right-hand side, we see a graph that just shows the red line is the average leads per square inch is just increasing almost exponentially, while the board size is mostly really just staying the same. So that means boards are getting denser and denser with more components, more traces and connections that really can hinder your design time and create some issues. So this is how PADS has really evolved over the last couple of years. PADS is really trying to be revitalized and help you with some of your design issues. So before 2014, we were talking about just PADS, a desktop PCB design tool, mostly strictly for PCB design. Then over the last couple of years, we've gone to the PADS solutions, and this is what we currently offer. We offer PADS Standard, Standard Plus, and Professional. So PADS Standard and Standard Plus are all based off of PADS layout that has been around for a long time. PADS Professional is a very new tool, at least in the PADS space, and it's very similar to Expedition layout. Again, this can offer some great benefits if you're doing some very complex designs with fine pitch VGAs or very high-speed buses, anything like that. PADS Professional can help you with that. And then we recently pulled out the electronics product creation platform with the PADS solutions. And this just encompasses everything that you need to do within PCB design. It goes from PCB layout to simulation, collaboration, design management, data management, everything that you need, we feel like PADS can offer for your PCB design and electronics design. Here is just a good wheel that shows what PADS can offer us today. For the product creation platform, we can do obviously schematic capture, component data management with PartQuest and Databook, some simulation for topology exploration with hyperlinks. Thermal analysis is included in PADS Standard Plus. It does a great job of board level, quick level checks. We did talk about the MCAD collaborator already. That was our last Did You Know solution. And if that sounds interesting to you, it allows you to pass information back between ECAD and MCAD world. That is an archived webinar on our YouTube channel. And then PADS also offers Constraint Management and DFMA for manufacturing checks. Also new to the PADS space are just these options as well. These are historically been more expensive simulation tools that are really around the PADS price point. And again, all of these will work with competitive flow. There's a different name for those, but they all work with a competitive flow as well. DC drop to analyze voltage drop on your power planes. PADS AMS is for analog mixed signal, SPICE or analog simulation. DDR, which we'll be covering next week, again, Thursday, April 11th. The electrical design rule check for PADS Hyperlinks DRC is an EMI checker. It's a graphical rule checker to see if any, for example, any traces crossing a gap can cause an antenna effect and cause an EMI that you might not want in your design. And then lastly, we do have the electronics cooling with PADS FlowFan. Okay, and again, if you guys do have any questions, please put those into the chat box and I'll address those accordingly, or at the end we can have a Q&A as well. Okay, so this is going to be hopping into what I'm actually going to be showing today in the demo. So the first thing I want to talk about is the constraint management that we have available in the PADS world today. So there is the constraint management tool that I will be showing. What's powerful about this environment is it's entirely spreadsheet driven. Okay, so you can enter in all of your design constraints for trace width, trace layer biasing, via assignments, and then also physical clearances, all in this spreadsheet-based system. Okay, what we can do within the PADS world is either enter these constraints in the schematic or enter them in the layout. This is a little bit different methodology than we're used to with PADS, but it allows the electrical engineer to enter in some very critical design rules for some nets in the schematic, and those will be passed directly to the layout and vice versa. So like I said, this constraint management system will help control every aspect of the design, including net classes, clearances, differential pairs, and any length or match rules that you need to enter for your nets. So the meat of what I'm going to be talking about today is this PADS MultiTrace HSD. So a lot of designs are getting more complex, a lot more differential pairs are being implemented in designs, and with those can come some special design issues, especially in the name of tuning. It can be a very tedious process if done by hand, can do a lot of routing, tuning, and then deleting those traces just to make room for the other nets that need to be tuned. What this option is, it's available for PAD Standard, Standard Plus, and Professional, and it's very easy to automatically route and tune nets that have those length requirements on them, those maximum and minimum length rules associated with them. Okay. It will also adhere to match length rules, so if you have a bus that all of those traces need to be within 50 thousandths of each other, it will all tune to that match. Okay. And a couple of ways to use this: we can grab a single net, right click and hit route, and it will automatically route and tune that net, or we can grab that entire bus and it will route and tune that entire bus as well. And the same goes for differential pairs. And of course, it will adhere to all of the design rules that we've entered into our constraint management system. Okay. So that's the PADS MultiTrace HSD option. Then there is also the option for the PADS Autorouter HSD, and that HSD is high-speed design, if anyone's curious on that. So this is available only for PADS Standard Plus. And what this allows us to do is that if anyone uses the Autorouter within the PADS router environment, this option will allow you to automatically pass or route and tune nets using the Autoroute environment. So you can auto-route all of your differential pairs, and it will automatically insert those accordions as well as any other match length rules that you have. Okay, so with that, I'm going to hop into just demoing these different options. This shouldn't take long, so again, please feel free to ask any questions that you have. I haven't received any, so please feel free if anything is confusing or you want more information on that. Okay, so this is the PADS router environment, and what I have here is just a couple of net lines visible that we want to work with. Okay, so just to show the constraints that we're working with right now, I do have our constraint management system open. And again, like I was talking about, it is an entire spreadsheet-based system. While unfortunately I don't have enough time to go through every aspect of this tool, I just want to briefly show what we can do within this environment. Okay. So like I said in the slides, we do have the ability to define net classes, physical clearances, as well as length requirements on all of our different nets. Okay, so here in this net classes option, we can define different net classes and set up trace width, differential spacing, and via assignments on those particular net classes. We also have the ability to set different clearance rules, and of course this is going to have all of our physical clearances such as trace to trace, pad to pad, pad to trace, anything like that. What we can do within this environment, again, is define it on a layer-by-layer basis. So you can create a new clearance rule and define all of these different clearances on a layer-by-layer basis. Okay. It might look a little bit confusing right now because there's a lot of information going on, but it works exactly like Microsoft Excel or any other spreadsheet system that you might be used to currently. And probably what we're going to be talking about the most today is our constraint classes. And what you can see here is actually all of our different nets in our design. Okay? So if I scroll over, you can actually see from within this window, we can automatically create differential pairs on the fly, associate which net class it's in. We can actually define the maximum number of vias. And again, everything that we enter within here will actually be adhered to in the layout. So maximum number of vias, you will not be able to place more vias than you have entered in here. We can enter a min and maximum length for all of our different nets, and then also some separation gap if that's necessary. So what I can do within here, which makes it quite powerful, is the ability to do cross-probing from within this tool to our layout tool. So if I select FData0 and hop back into the router, you'll see that it has selected this net line in white. Same goes for cross-probing in the other direction. I can select a net line within the layout tool and hop back into the constraint management tool, and it automatically has that selected for us. So the constraint management tool, I think, really simplifies how constraints can be entered. Very easy to understand, and very quickly you can identify which rules are not being adhered to or which rules you need to maybe fine-tune just a little bit. All right, so hopping back into the layout tool, I just want to briefly show how differential pairs can be routed currently without any of these options that we'll be talking about, and how we can do some manual tuning. So I have a differential pair here on pins 2 and 3 of U13. What I can do here is just select one of those net lines and hit the interactive routing button, and that will begin pulling off both of our differential pairs. Very normal functionality in most tools these days. You will see I have a tuning meter. I'm sorry, it's probably difficult to see on your screen, but this tuning meter does update in real time and shows us what our current length for this differential pair is. I currently have a length requirement on this differential pair from 3,500 mils to 5,000. Okay, so we gotta most likely do some tuning to reach that requirement. So with just manual tuning, I can automatically insert an accordion, and it will begin that serpentine for us. I can complete that accordion and just continue routing this trace. So this works fairly well if you have traces on the board that you don't have very much tuning to do. It's pretty easy to manually route and tune your differential pairs. But if we do have this bus down here in the bottom section of our design, all of these are a match length group. Okay, so the match length group is just a little bit more difficult to route, but we might want to route the longest net first and then do tuning on all of the other traces that we need to. Okay, and to show how this can be done with our new HSD tuning option, so this is the pads MultiTrace tuning option. Again, if I select this bus and just click route, the tool will go ahead and automatically route the entire bus and insert accordions where necessary. Okay, so you can see that these different traces have been routed on layers 1 in yellow, layer 4 in red, and accordions have automatically been inserted for us. So we have set up some layer biasing, and then so the layer biasing is being adhered to. For example, layer 2 in blue is only a vertical layer, Layer 4 in red is only a horizontal layer, so any layer biasing that you want to work with, it will be adhered to with that option. And I'm just going to do a Control-Z and show how this routing might be done without that HSD tuning option. So what do I have to do first? I'm going to just turn off both of those options that we just had on. And now again, I will select this bus and click on Route. This time it again will route the traces, but you see that no accordions have been inserted. Within here, we're going to have to go in and actually do some manual insertion of accordions. As you can see, this just might be a lot more. This goes from being a very quick operation, just right-clicking, routing, and having the tool tune it for us. We're going to have to actually go in and insert accordions by hand on a one-by-one basis to make sure everything is matched up. Okay, so I'm going to Control-Z one more time, and I'm going to turn those options back on. So what I can do again, I'm just going to right-click and route, and it will insert those accordions. Okay, so now, just to make sure that everything is in adherence to our matched length rule that we have set up, I can go back into our Constraint Management tool, and just so everyone knows, we are working with the F data bus, so all the ones I have highlighted here. We can see that I've created a match group named Match, and they all have to be within 50,000 of each trace. Okay, so very easy to understand once you know what to look for within the Constraint Management tool. And now to compare it to what has actually been routed on the board, I can go Data, Actual, and just Update All. So what this will do is actually goes out to the design and brings back all of the routed trace information. So just like that, we can compare all of that routed trace information directly to what we have in the constraints. So for example, we'll see that it looks like everything has been routed to about 6,031 thousandths. And it doesn't look like there's really any range in there. So the tool did a great job of routing all of those traces and tuning them to meet our match requirement. Okay. All right. So now what I want to talk about is how we can achieve the same effect using the Autorouter. So you'll see that we have this F data bus in yellow, and then I think we have 4 differential pairs that we're working with up in this section. So very easily, what we can do using the Autorouter environment, I'm not sure how many of you are familiar or actually use the auto routing environment, but we can achieve auto routing and auto tuning using, again, the PADS Auto Route HSD option. So what I'm going to do is open up our routing strategy. Okay, so if you're not familiar with this window, fairly simple to use. We can select a different pass type, so pass types such as fan out, route, and tuning is what the router is going to do. Okay. So what I can do here for route, we don't have to route every single net in the design. What I can do is go down into our net objects and select our different net classes. I've got a differential pair class. So notice when I click on the diff pairs in the net objects section here, in the navigation window in the bottom right hand side of the screen, it actually highlights those different nets just to visualize, allow you to visualize where those are on the board and make sure you're selecting the correct things. So what I can do is select all of those differential pairs. Let me make sure I have that option on. Okay. All right, so if I go into Tools, Options, what I can do again is select this net class. And with diff pairs selected, I can hit right arrow on selected. And now we have diff pairs in this routing order. Okay, so now I can also select F data. And now when I start the auto routing, all the auto router is going to do is route and tune all of the F data nets as well as those differential pairs. Okay. So I'll click OK there. And now once I click on the auto route button, the tool will begin the auto routing process. And as you can see, we'll see these accordions inserted automatically as that routes. Okay, so we see that the tool has automatically routed and tuned all of those nets for us. So very easy to set this up. Again, this is with the PADS Autoroute HSD option. Okay. So that's all I was going to show within the tool. So I'm going to hop back just into our presentation here and just finish this off. Again, feel free to ask any questions. I do see a question from Rob Maxey, and I definitely will address that at the end because that is a very point of confusion for some people. Okay, just to recap on why we here at Oasis Sales think that the MultiTrace HSD tuning is a fun tool to have, and it can really help you save time and money when routing your high-speed designs. So it really allows you to give superb control for all of your match links and differential pairs and route all of those very quickly. We do have a free evaluation for 14 days. If that sounds interesting to you, we can definitely give that to you and play around on your designs and see how well that works for you. So if you have any questions or want to try that, definitely reach out to us. We are also going to run a promotion. If this sounds extremely interesting to you, we would first like to work maybe with an evaluation, and then if you want to purchase that before April 30th, we are going to be running this discount. Again, here's my contact information, so please feel free to reach out to me with questions. Email or phone call is totally fine, and I will do my best to get those answered for you. And the last thing I want to say is just save the date for the DDR Wizard. If you guys do a lot of DDR designs, this can drastically help you meet your JEDEC standards and make sure all of your timings are set up correctly. Okay, with that, I'm just going to address Rob Maxey's question. And his question is, I am running PADS Router 9.5 and I don't have the Constraint Manager available. Which version? Okay, so that's a great question, Rob. And you do have to be on at least PADS version VX. Okay, so you're on 9.5, the next version is VX, essentially version 10. The most current version, for everyone's information, is version VX.2.1, so 10.2.1 is the most current version. And to get that Constraint Manager, you do have to be running VX and actually utilize a design flow called the integrated flow. So Rob, let's, if that sounds really interesting to you, I'm more than happy to talk about that offline and address your needs. Okay, does anyone else have any other questions? Okay, if not, I'll end the meeting here. And please, again, here's my contact information. Feel free to give me a phone call or shoot me an email. Okay, thanks again for attending. Have a great rest of your day.